Greetings, this is September 15th at 9 p.m. We are looking southwards from the Chasm. This video is a repost. There was a time correction and we'll just carry on from here. If you've already watched this video, there won't be any new information other than the time for the rescinded order to alert for Pressy Lake, Young Lake, and Hihium is 2 p.m. Saturday, September 16th. We'll take a look at the revised TNRD mapping, but first let's look at some satellite photos. We're now looking at NASA's world view, and there were some clear images that came through yesterday, giving us an opportunity to see the ground level unobscured by clouds. Here we are looking at the overview of the Elephant Hill wildfire. What I am noticing first off is no smoke, no plumes, no evidence of haze in the area, and that's a very good sign. And now we are looking at the southern flank, the area around Cache Creek along Highway 1. We're moving up to the midsection between Clinton, Loon Lake, and Young Lake, and finally the northern flank in the area between Sheridan and Green Lake. If we zoom in, I can almost perceive some haze coming up from the intersection around Little Green Lake Road, North Bonaparte. It's very difficult to tell. I'll put the link to this image in the description below, and then you can zoom in and look at areas of your concern in more detail. The areas around Hihium, Young Lake, and Pressy Lake will be rescinded tomorrow, Saturday, September 16th at 2 p.m. So this is very good news for these communities which have been under evacuation order for 49 days and longer in the case of Hihium. There was a lot of volatility around these lakes. And if you would like to see for yourself, I'll put the link to the TNRD where they'll have their updates on their bulletins page. The Caribou Regional District has also extended their state of local emergency south of Highway 24 to the TNRD Regional District and east of Green Lake and Little Green Lake, Watch Lake, all the way to Sheridan. So I checked their PDF, and I'll put their page as a link. They have a new order there, and it appears to be extended all the way to September 20th now. So you want to keep on top of these alerts and bulletins and just keep checking back, because information will change as mop-up crews are going through and more areas are opened up to the public. We're going to jump over to BC Wildfire and take a look at the Elephant Hill statistics. 192,725 hectares involved and 60% contained, and they indicate that there's been no growth. Suppression activities are carrying on, and they will be removing a lot of equipment, and after that's done, the areas around Young, Pressy, and Hihium Lake will then open up and be put back onto alert. Another site is Firewire by the CIFFC, and there you can get stats on how many helicopters, how much heavy equipment, how many people. There's still over 400 people working on this fire, 68 heavy pieces of equipment, 8 helicopters, and all the support people that are still involved on this active wildfire. Looking at the NRC data, that's 197,910 hectares. This is a loose perimeter which helps us to confirm the official data that we're getting. However, this is indicating a little bit more involved, but you want to go with the official report because they have the eyes on the ground, and not all areas have been consumed by fire. And I think the key point that this infrared system is expressing, there are no infrared hotspots being displayed at this time, and we've had some pretty clear days. So only smoldering going on right now, and no detection of that intense radiative heat that we were looking at over the last couple weeks. We've rolled into an image from NASA's Earth data, and this is showing active infrared going on right now, and British Columbia, the Cariboo, the southern interior is a lot clearer than it has been in a long time. We are seeing those hotspots, Peachland, Christian Valley, and towards the southeastern portion of the Rockies. Waterton Lakes, very active right now. Also in Washington, Idaho, Montana, their activity has increased in the late summer, and I've talked about that in previous videos, that as the summer has dried out much of the forest, they may now be at one of their critical periods of time. So we'll have to continue to watch that, and smoke may usher forward from Washington as this wind changes and comes from the south next week. That'll happen on Sunday, when we could see some gusts up towards 50 kilometers an hour. But looking at windy right now, we're only seeing 2-3 kilometers an hour on both computer models coming from the northwest. And this should stay a relatively low velocity, begin a shift from the east, and Saturday evening, Sunday morning, start coming from the south, increase in velocity to Sunday afternoon, and perhaps bring some precipitation with it. The wind speed should begin to settle down again going into next week, and there could be a lot of variation depending on where you are, if you're up on the plateaus or if you're down in the valleys. One thing you might want to continue watching is the lightning meter, and I've been having fun with this system. It seems to be very responsive. It's displaying a lot of data. The strikes are coming in within a 20-second period, so it seems like a valuable system to keep on your screen. Now, one of the things I have been watching is the lightning activity off the coast of California. During Hurricane Irma, it was very active on the California coast and down in Mexico, where they recently had that 8.1 earthquake. And as you can see by this indication, the lightning has been moving eastward over Nevada towards Colorado. I also snapped a couple of screens what's going on over Lake Superior right now. A lot of lightning activity, and that could be associated with thunder showers. However, the number of strikes that were occurring over California prompted me to look into whether or not lightning precedes an earthquake, and you might want to Google that. There's been some interesting research in the last few years where they're actually shaking containers of flour and other solids, and it's developing voltage. So the jury is out. Do lightning strikes predict earthquakes? Not in all cases, and not enough to warrant any sort of alerts based on lightning at this time. However, it is being studied, and it's reached its way into mainstream and alternative media. So scientists and researchers are looking into this, and it may turn out to be an indication that we can use to predict tectonic movement. Another resource to watch out for lightning is the Canadian Lightning Danger Map, and this is divided into regions. I'll put the link below, and it gives a pretty good indication. There was no activity when I checked it out, so it's another resource to keep bookmarked in your toolbox. Another system for infrared is this ArcGIS Modus Thermal. Not as high resolution as using the Google KML, but I'll put the link below. It's nice to have these available in a web browser, so we're not always switching out between applications. And if we take a look at this system right now, British Columbia is very clear. The southern United States is showing a lot of infrared right now. I don't know if that's fire indications or industrial. You might want to read up in the About screen on this. And I did notice one infrared indication in mid-southern Florida. Very odd to see that at this time of year. So I'm always suspect of the infrared and what is generating that heat. It could be an industrial source. Just before we wrap this up, I'd like to show you a couple screens captured from my Android tablet. I'm sure there's a comparable configuration for the iOS system. This is just to give you a look at what I'm seeing. From the home screen, I just swipe to the right, and there I have my wind, lightning, Google Earth, my mapping. I have a little bookmark window in the lower left portion, and that has all the hot links to the satellite infrared information, wind and lightning, the government bulletins, and satellite mapping and highway cam systems. Also, I've got the gallery images in the upper left portion of the screen, and those are screen captures of satellite information, different maps, so they're at a quick click away, and I can open them up and see exactly what the situation is on the ground and refer to collected historical data. So to review, Pressy Lake, Young Lake, Hihium Lake, Saturday, September 16th at 2 p.m. The evacuation order is lifted, and those areas go into evacuation alert. And I have noticed that some viewers have kindly put indications that there'll be get-togethers and some community functions at different locations. Please feel free to put those in the comments. I'll pull forward and highlight ones that I've noticed in there. Also, if you have any notifications on where people can help out and volunteer their services, there may be some individuals that are having a hard time putting their world back together again. There is help out there and lots of volunteers. So check out with the Caribou Regional District, the TNRD, and some of the community associations. They can put you in touch with which groups are needing the help. And please be very careful if you go out into the forest, because there's a lot of burnt timber. It may be hanging precariously, and the slightest breeze might bring it down. It can be very unnerving if you're out in a still forest and you can hear trees crashing and hitting the ground just out of view. So maybe let a few good winds go through first, a couple of gales, and take down any stragglers. So thank you very much for watching, and good news for Pressy Lake, Young Lake, Hihium Lake. Order rescinded tomorrow 2 p.m. Be safe, everyone. Keep your nose to the breeze.